So this is a different format. It's a real mess, but it is what it is. This is I'm going to tell a story about a mistake in the entertainment industry that I made early in my career. If this is a series, I would call it Cautionary Tales. So we'll see if you enjoy it. Hopefully, you'll get something out of it. This is the story right when I moved to Los Angeles about how I had a writing assignment for a TV show that I pitched, and I blew it. At 23, I fully and undeniably blew it. And I can't even in good faith say that had I been ready, I would have been able to succeed. But I absolutely, you'll find out that I made it fail. I screwed it. So let's get into it. I moved to LA at 23 after graduating from college in my home state. While I was, after I graduated, but before I moved to LA, I took a workshop in my local town for screenwriting, and I met a local guy there who happened to be really good friends with two people who own a production company in Los Angeles. I'm not going to talk about who they are or what they do because that's not fair to them, but also more importantly, I want to keep it vague because it's like you don't talk bad about somebody else's project because you don't know who worked on it. You could be working with those people next time. To be clear, though, everything that happens in this is completely my fault. My buddy talks me up to these producers in Los Angeles, and because I'm going out there and to give it a shot to be a screenwriter, and he talked me up. I don't think we ever scheduled a dinner or a meeting or anything, but I ended up going out to LA. Pretty quickly, I start the UCLA professional program in screenwriting at night, and then I'm doing odd jobs during the day. Ultimately, at some point, I got a job at a production company as an office PA, and that was my first industry job. And I'm not sure of the timelines, but at some point, my buddy was like, "Hey, they want to get on a phone call with you. Their son wants to." Branch off his part of the production company and start working in TV. And I said, awesome. Half-hour sitcom guy. And he said, yeah, that's what I told him. So they want to meet with you, have some ideas to pitch them. And because they want to develop some stuff. And I said, great. And in my head at 23, having not finished a half-hour script, I think I finished a feature film script, but at this point I'd mostly written, short stories. But I love TV. And that's why I went out to LA. So I was like, man, this is, everybody says breaking in is so hard. This is the easiest thing I've ever done. Talent just gets recognized, and Aaron Sorkin's vision of how to be a screenwriter is the same as it was for him as it is today. So I'm crushing it. So I brought some ideas. I always consider myself pretty strong with the idea department. That's, I would say it's inherent in how I write, but it's also, I spend a lot of time on it. A lot of energy on it, but I brought some ideas. The one that I liked the most is the one that they liked the most, which was an airplane sitcom. Sort of the premise was, a silly Scrubs type show that happens to take place from a cheapo airline based out of Boise, Idaho. Ironically, a decade later, LA to Vegas show would come out. It didn't do very well, but it was basically the show that I wrote, except it was better because it made sense. Because LA to Vegas is a very specific thing where people fly afternoon of Friday to Vegas, and then afternoon of Sunday they fly back to LA. Mine was just Boise because Boise was a small place. So LA to Vegas is better. Anyway, they say, hey, let's do a notes call on your idea once you have an outline. And I was like, what is an outline? Didn't say that to them, obviously. Once you have an outline, let's do a notes call. Let's get the ball rolling. And I said, great. And I was definitely working at that production company as a PA by then. So I was daytime office PA, nighttime a couple times a week UCLA, and then the rest of the time I was working on the script with or without the input of my buddy. So finished a draft, show it to my buddy, show it to a few other people, because I understand workshopping. Got it in pretty good shape. Sent it over to them. They said, great, let's hop on a notes call on this day. I hop on a notes call. I got my pen and paper. It goes for an hour and a half, 2 hours. A lot of notes, a lot of general notes. It's fine. It was a first draft. It was messy. I wasn't happy with the jokes anyway. They want to change some characters. They want to change some stuff. No big deal. I stay on the phone call afterwards to hang out with my buddy and say, hey, that went pretty well. And he goes, yeah, there's a good vibe. And I said, at what point are they going to pay me for this? Because what's the point? Like, why am I doing these development meetings with them for free? And he goes, that's what it is. And I said, okay, that's kind of weird. But I'm starting to work on this rewrite tonight because I want to get this to them as quickly as possible. Because I want to, obviously, this is my golden ticket. I want to, buy my Porsche and make a TV show. I'm ready for that. I'm ready for the lifestyle at 23. Crushing it. Absolutely crushing it. And he said, all right, whatever. So I worked on it. I sent it to some people to get some notes, blah, blah, blah. Aggressively addressed all the notes that I had yes-sirred them during the meeting. And good shaped scripts, sent it to my buddy. We rewrite a little bit of it after I sent it to him. And then we send it back to them. And they say, hey, it's going to be a few weeks before we get to it because we're out of town for this other thing that they did they're very famous for that I can't talk about. And I was like, sure, whatever. I'm working as a PA, so I guess I'm learning that side of it. While I was at that production company working as a PA, not the one I was, developing with, but the one that I was like blue collar working with, I'm learning a few things. One of the things I'm learning is there's sort of like LA Hollywood etiquette about things. Like if you send somebody a script, you're allowed to call their assistant or call the front desk every few weeks just to remind them to put it back on top because people are busy. That's a thing that happens. I think it's also for resumes when you apply to places. It makes my skin crawl that you would send your resume and then call the place to confirm that they know that your resume is there. But I don't know. Is this a thing in other industries? I've been told this and it just makes me feel gross. But also I did a bunch of assistant mixers when I was a PA too, which also made me feel gross and unhappy. So I don't know. Anyway, so I learned that. And then the other thing I learned was the Hollywood no. And the Hollywood no is, I don't think I coined this term, but the idea is basically a Hollywood yes is you're working with somebody, you're collaborating with somebody, you're still talking to them, you're still collaborating. That's a continuous Hollywood yes. A Hollywood no is you're working with somebody or you're trying to work with somebody and they will not answer your calls. You will never hear from them again. They will, even if their assistant says they're in the office, you're not going to get a call from them. That's a Hollywood no. You're ghosted. I hate everything about it. And maybe that's not the norm, but at least anecdotally and from the people I've interacted with, that's what a Hollywood no is. As a consequence, one of my rules is anybody that works with me or anybody that collaborates with me, especially actors auditioning, if they didn't get the role or if I can't use them, I'm still going to let them know that they didn't get it because it's important for me to give them closure, especially with actors. I just think it's unfair that actors go out for stuff and then never hear from anybody. And so they never get did I make the part or not? They just have, the movie's gonna come out and you're gonna be like, okay, well, the movie's out, so I didn't get the role. Makes me feel horrible. Foreshadowing. So I turned in my second draft to them, waiting to hear back, finally get a day where we're going to do a notes call, got my pen and paper. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like this is 8 hours away from them cutting me a huge check and me being on Hollywood Reporter's cover or whatever. I don't understand how it goes, for crushing it for sitcom of the year, best pilot this pilot's going to get, taken somewhere. This was right before it was really cool to be in TV. This was, 2011-ish. So Always Sunny was well into its prime, but I don't know if Breaking Bad was out or if it had caught on yet. I think it was out. I don't know. Anyway, so we do the notes call for the second round. Different tone. The tone of the conversation seemed a little bit more frustrated, a little bit more tight-lipped. I yes-sanded them and yes-sirred them as much as I could, and I got a bunch of notes. A bunch of the notes were contradictory, which was annoying, and a bunch of the notes were the same notes as the first time. So I got new notes, I got contradictory notes, and I got notes from the first time again. it was what it was. You know, I've been to workshops. I've had workshops not go well for me. I almost prefer them now as a grown ass man when they don't go well for me, because I feel like I have a better chance of the upswing. But it went badly, and I was cordial. I was fine. I stayed on with my buddy. I said, "Hey, that kind of went weird." And he goes, "Yeah, but you know, just stick it out. They want to work with you, so we're gonna get this done somewhere or another." And I said, "Yeah, I'm getting sick of this script because I've spent a lot of time on it. But let's get to the end of this. Let's get to get to the finish line here." So I think I left the script alone for a while. A thing I do now when I have a chance, actually, so I can reset my brain. But I was just in too bad of a headspace to really consider that worth working on. And obviously they didn't give me a deadline, and obviously they're not going to pay me anytime soon. A thing I still was concerned about, even though, you know, it's common knowledge now when you develop with somebody, unless you have a development deal, they don't pay you until the script sells. So, but I didn't know that. I didn't know much. I'm not even sure how much I did or did not know at this point. I was learning a little bit at my production company job, but I was also just sort of trial and erroring with my buddy because he was also not an industry guy. But I did end up rewriting the script and working on it, and it was annoying and it was worse, and I hated the jokes, and I got it done. I said, "Hey, I'm a week out from finishing. I'm going to send it to you guys, blah, blah, blah." They said, "Okay, great. It might take a while for us to read it because we're going to be either doing this thing that we're famous for that's not connected to filmmaking, or we're going to be on our movie," because they make like 2 major movies a year, and it's a big deal. They're a big deal. So I was like, all right, fine. I was sort of coming into terms with the fact that I was probably never going to get paid, and that maybe this script isn't going to work out. You know, I still thought it was the best thing anybody's ever written, but it seemed like maybe I was moved. I don't know. Anyway, I sent the script out. Eventually, I sort of just forget about it. I'm doing my own thing. I'm working the PA job, and you know, I'm still working. I'm still doing UCLA. And eventually I hear back. They say, "Hey, we want to do a notes meeting. Are you available?" I said, "Yes." I feel like they had to reschedule it a couple times. But anyway, I did the notes meeting. The notes meeting is, and this is coming from somebody who sucks at social cues in person, is terrible on the phone, and has the text message etiquette of, I don't know, a serial killer. I don't like, nuance is not something that I'm good at conversationally, especially on the phone. I could tell there was a palpable uneasiness in the air, like I had done something wrong. I could tell that on the phone call, and so they talked. They said, "Hey, yeah, you know, it's certainly not in the shape that we would hope it was in, blah blah blah, but we do have the notes." And I said, "Hey, you know, I'm committed to this. Let's see what we can do here." So I got the notes. We did the notes for like maybe 45 minutes, and I was just getting more and more frustrated. And again, this is somebody who I've been doing workshops since college or before, so I'm used to things going badly in the workshop for me. But the hits just keep coming. I'm getting notes from the first draft coming back that I had solved in the second draft, and now they're not solved again. I had notes from the second draft that didn't get solved. I got notes contradicting each other. I got notes that didn't make sense. I don't know what's going on. I'm getting frustrated. I'm getting annoyed. I'm feeling like even after this notes call, whatever I'm going to turn into them is just not going to, it's not going to happen for anybody. And, you know, if I got my ego out of the way at the time, which I definitely couldn't, I could have probably admitted, the script was not going to work, either because the idea is not going to work or because it's me. I don't know which. As a grown-ass man, it was all the above. It was especially me. But it just wasn't going to work out. Anyway, so I did notes, and I waited for the notes to finish, and it was just weird, and there wasn't a lot of notes, but they were all repeats from previous times. And I don't know if they prompted me and said, "Hey, where's your head at?" or whatever. But I just remember there was being a lapse in the conversation of me going, "I just don't know what you guys want." And I think I said it like that, if I had to guess. And I didn't mean it to sound horrible, but it was. And they sort of like backtracked, and then within a couple minutes they got off the phone call and basically were like, yeah, give us another draft, we'll let you know, blah blah blah. And they got out of there, and I stayed on with my buddy, and I said, hey, that was weird, that would feel like that was a train wreck. And he goes, yeah, it didn't go well. And I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna go back working on it. And he's like, all right. And that was it. And I left it alone. I was just upset and mad at myself and just frustrated with the whole thing. This clearly wasn't going to work out. This is not Aaron Sorkin's vision of what screenwriting is, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. I sort of, internalized that, mental health, whatever. A few months later, I sent them an email and said, hey, I'm working on it. I'll have a date closer when I'm ready to show it to you guys, but this is going to be the script you guys are going to want, like, for sure, without question. You're going to want this script. It's great. And I think I got an acknowledgement or something. But I was also, again, at this point, I learned from my PA job that just keep reminding them you exist. Otherwise, they will forget. So every few weeks, I would try to email them or try to talk to the receptionist or whatever, just to let them know that I'm still alive and still working on this for them. And at a certain point, I was leaving voicemails, I was getting emails, I was getting nothing back. If I forgot the receptionist and she said they're in the office, it would go to voicemail. If she said they're not in the office, she would just hang up on me. And I was getting kind of annoyed. I was getting kind of annoyed because it's like they're ghosting me. It's like a third date when you didn't have chemistry on the second one. One of you just wants out, but just doesn't have the heart to be like, you suck. That's really what it was. And so I kind of just gave up and I got frustrated. And then a couple weeks later, my buddy texted me. He's like, did you ever hear back from him? And I said, no, I mean, I'm ready to send them the script whenever they want, but I have not heard back from them. He goes, yeah, you're not going to. And I was like, did they buy a different script from somebody? He goes, no. He goes, it was that last notes meeting. You were there. And I was like, yeah, it went bad, but they said they were going to let me know. And I told them I was going to get them a script. And he's like, yeah, you're not going to hear from them. And I was like, well, did they tell you that? He goes, yeah, but also, like, you were a jerk. Like, the way you behaved, they got off the phone call quick. You don't remember that? And I was like, I was dealing with notes. I honestly don't know. He goes, yeah, no, they're not going to, they're done with you. Like, I'm still working with my thing with them, but you're not going to hear from them. And I had that sort of Jaws where the world rushes in on you moment. And I went, oh my God, like I fucked it. Like, I absolutely fucked it. I did. That was the moment. Like, I feel like in the back of my mind, I had known at that point that I had somehow screwed it up, and that it was probably me being like, what do you guys want from me? I knew that, but to like have your buddy who was like your cheerleader say that to you, that was like, yeah, major ego blast. Wisdom distance a dozen years in the future, me speaking. Yeah, of course. Like the script was shit. I was a shit. The experience for all parties involved was shit. Like, of course like, if I hadn't done, like, honestly, I'm not even sure. And maybe this is just giving myself credit because my ego is still bruised from this, but there's a very good chance they all read the script and they all went, well, this is not going to work. And had already decided that even if they were going to give me notes that they were done. But let's be honest, I snapped at them and they got off the phone call. So I absolutely blew it. So that's what it is. I blew a major development deal. Obviously it was, a handshake, no money changed hands deal because it was so early in the process. But they were a big deal company. They're big deal people. I was 23. I was a dumb person with a bad script and a ego problem. I blew it. Full on blew it. If they know who I am and I run into them, because I know who they are, I owe them an apology. At this point, it's probably for the best of all parties. I remain anonymous to them because I was just, that annoying 23-year-old who basically wasted a few afternoons of their time and then snapped at them when they were the professionals and I was being unprofessional. So, don't do that. Play ball. keep your ego out of it. I don't know. There's a bunch of lessons here, but just the big one is don't be an asshole and have some self-awareness. And at that moment I didn't. And so it's been sort of a never ending quest since then to not be an asshole and have some self-awareness. I don't know. What do you guys think? Was that a worthwhile use of your time? Oh man, even thinking about it now, it's just like, it's so brutal. And it was, man, that was just such my fault. I do my best when I come across young filmmakers, doing faux pas, maybe not to that level, but doing faux pas. I usually jump in and be like, hey, there's a better way to do this, or there's a way to behave, because there, yeah, it is. But there's also moments where I've had to dip out of a project because just the unprofessionalism or just the behavior is, it's not my, there's sometimes where I just, have to tell myself it's not my place to teach these, to teach a lesson. It's not my place, there, if a lesson is to be taught, but I'm forever grateful that my buddy told me that I fucked it. But at the end of the day, yeah, shame on me for all of it. All right. Yeah, that's what it is. Like, share, subscribe. Catch you next time.